And I'm sure you are fully aware there are 100 members of the Colorado legislature, 65 in the House, 35 in the Senate. And while you can also divide lawmakers by their political parties, you can also break them down by caucus, groups that work together to advocate for legislation promoting common interests. Well, joining us today is State Representative Adrienne Benavidez. She is the chair of the Latino Caucus. And thank you so much for joining us. Legislature's just getting going. What are your priorities for this session?
Well, the Latino Caucus in the legislature, our priorities are really to shine a light on what's going on in the Latino community in the state, and particularly our contributions to the state. We're working on some resolutions that will identify some of those areas, but we also feel that right now one of the big issues in the state and the country is immigration. So we just last week filed a resolution to encourage our congressional delegation to stand strong behind getting DACA recipients the much needed help that they need. And so we passed that through the House, and we will be asking the Joint Budget Committee in the next week to withhold funding from the state courts until they stop allowing arrests at probation offices.
And what do you think the chances are of that moving forward?
Well, the Joint Budget Committee will do figure setting in March, and I think our delegation, the Latino Caucus, and many members of the State House firmly believe that that's a safety risk. It's a problem for everybody. If anybody is afraid to participate in our criminal justice system, it doesn't help any of us.
You mentioned immigration as one of your top priorities. What other issues do you see this year that are big for the Latino community?
Well, education is always a huge issue.
I think for every community, right?
Right, and there are several bills with respect to funding and how we do that for many of our school districts. Another area that's huge is workers' rights. We'll be doing some work around apprentice programs, and how do you get our young people into that? Criminal justice reform is a huge matter as well. There's some bills with regard to parole, with regard to not issuing monetary bonds on low-level offenses. So we will be working on some of those things as well.
I suspect some people are sitting at home saying, why is this important? Why is there a Latino caucus? Why is it that you feel this need to push certain legislation?
Well, in the state, we're almost, if we haven't exceeded, 30% of the state population, but there are only 9 of us, so less than 10% in the state legislature. And if we don't bring the concerns of the Latino community forward in the legislature, it may not happen. And so that's why it's important that together we work to make sure that they're not overlooked.
You have some legislation you're proposing coming up this week. Tell me more about that.
Well, it's not legislation. We'll be asking the Joint Budget Committee to consider not funding certain budget requests made by the court system, because we've asked the court system to consider not allowing their probation officers to contact ICE and arrest people on probation. So we will be doing that directly this week.
And how is it as an organization, or as a group, I should say, that you decide what your priorities are for the legislative session?
Well, what we do is we have regular meetings and we talk about those priorities. And if we can't agree as a body, then individually you'll be able to go forward with it. But we only go forward as a group on the things that we can agree on.
Okay, well, we look forward to seeing what happens this year within the legislature. Representative Benavidez, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. And stay with us. We'll be right back.